We're going to build the best football team in the SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Norrie! It's Norrie! Got a touchdown! Norrie's got a touchdown! Oh, man! Norrie's got a touchdown!
Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium Miguel. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatorre.
Same corner, same time. Fresh off the spring game. How y'all boys feeling? Y'all good?
It's good to be back. Good Easter weekend. Nick just put on some shades. I guess he's going to block out his haters. So Nick was all over the internet this weekend. So I want to hear more about Nick's weekend and how he's able to control his screaming fans. But it was a good weekend, boys. Nick, the breaker of news, the storyteller. How was your weekend?
It's good. I didn't break any
Trying to
news.
think of other adjectives there, but
Ran out quick.
yeah.
Good look for me,
I didn't want to
Silk.
pump his
He ran
tires
out.
too much.
Ran out super quick.
Let this guy ever do your intro to a show, man.
No, I mean Flavor Flav would have made one stop on the tour before he got kicked off. If that was the intro.
Right?
I'll work on it for next week.
Good weekend. Covered baseball as I always do. Talked to Anthony Richardson on the phone Friday night. That was good. Appreciate him for reaching out and talking to me to clear up his traffic citation.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
That's a
about
big
it.
ticket. Big ticket.
Big
I'm talking
ticket
about
item.
Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, that's not a cheap one. That's a lot of points. It's probably mandatory driver's ed school, all that kind of fun stuff. But we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, how was your
That's
weekend though? So
that's
you just watched baseball and then just counted your retweets and likes on Twitter all weekend, right?
Yeah, did some good numbers. Thank you all
Yep.
for clicking and retweeting, quote tweeting. Didn't need you all tagging the other writers, who my colleagues, guys I work with. But Twitter's gonna do its thing.
Yeah, Twitter twittered this weekend. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Twitter did its thing this weekend. Wasn't my intention to throw anyone else under the bus, but like I thought, hey, you're not going to turn down an opportunity to have a one-on-one interview with the starting quarterback of Florida. And I know that Anthony had done some stuff in the community as late as February, pediatric cancer, and that's stuff that, like, looking up in the state of Florida, because of the Sunshine Act, it's really easy to get public records.
Mm-hmm.
So like when guys get arrested, it's easy to look that stuff up, and it's a story because of their platform. So I made sure to tell, like, Anthony, and I'll tell any football player, like, hey, if you're doing something in the community in Gainesville, if you're going to talk to an elementary school, if you're going to feed the homeless, do something, like, make somebody in the media aware of that. I would love to go and write those stories. Like, I think that's better than writing someone getting pulled over or somebody getting popped, with a gram of weed in their car.
I think the problem be, like, they can search the negative news to find, but the kid got to find the writers to give them positive news.
Right. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, it is an extra step for them. But I'll be there.
But it's a reoccurring theme. You don't write negative news unless, like, I mean, some of the news is just negative. You can't control it. Some news, like trying to find a traffic ticket, there's just certain writers that just harp on bad press, bad news. That ticket was before the spring game. I thought that could have got out before. Anthony Richardson played a great spring game. A lot of good press coming out about him, and then negative writers come out of the woodworks with traffic ticket stuff.
I found out about it Wednesday, and for me, and it's different writers might think things are newsworthy. I thought 105 on Newberry, hey, that's newsworthy because that's not like a highway. I was like, but
it's newsworthy. It's just
like,
like
he wasn't drunk. He didn't have drugs
thought...
in the car. He didn't have guns in the car. So
right.
I'm like, listen,
right.
it's 2 days. It's the day before the spring game. He was speeding. He's 19 years old. I mean, I've done 30 over the speed limit too. No one cared because I'm not the starting quarterback of the Gators.
It seems to be the same reporters that break those type of stories.
Yeah, I think that's what
I was heavy in the streets for the credit card stuff, and like people weren't mad at me about that.
No, that's a big story. That's a real ass story. I mean, credit card fraud, a lot of stuff is going on. We get it, but when you're reaching for a traffic story, and you're the I ain't even gonna say reaching because like you said, driving at that speed is a story. Especially with some athletes that have gotten in accidents. My man, I'm forgetting the receiver that got into the accident. Ruggs, right? So it is a story, but I think the fans are reacted to the same writers that break those type of stories, and I think that story, if Nick breaks that, or if Thomas Goldcamp or somebody breaks that, I think it's a different vibe. It's just who broke it and the energy behind it, especially after good AR news.
Yeah, I think that's what the internet was up in arms over. I think everybody agrees that it's a bad thing to do, and you're risking other people's lives, not just your own, when you do that. I think the internet was in an uproar because it does seem like certain people are consistently seeking out more negative news than trying to go and find positive news, Nick. And I do agree with your take that a lot of things that are done from a philanthropic or community service perspective probably don't get announced as often, or they're just, they work with a small group of people. And, a lot of times people don't do that stuff for praise and have articles written about them. But I do think, if certain people are consistently always talking about the bad things, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt that they're just reporting the news. Right. And I think that's where the internet got upset. I'm not against reporting that news. If you get pulled over and you have a traffic court hearing to deal with the ramifications of that, and they could be severe, then that is noteworthy and newsworthy. But like I said, I just think it's the same people that the internet is upset about, because it does seem like every time there's something good that happens, there's always some negative news that follows without kind of what seems to be a balance, or what seems to be a searching out of some positive stories.
Yeah, man. I think some of the like who's reporting on the reporters? Like, if I got a DUI, I'm not breaking the traffic speeding story. Just keep it a bean, bro. It's not my bag, I'm gonna let somebody else break that one. You gotta read the room a little bit.
Yeah, that was a tough headline. But Nick, I do want to talk a little bit more about that. But Silk, how was your weekend?
Man, it was great, man.
Yeah,
I chilled. Wanted to spend a lot of time with my kids, but my kids wanted to spend time with my parents, so I didn't get a whole lot of kids this weekend. Little work, little play. That's about it. Not a whole lot, man.
I haven't had, obviously don't have kids, but very fond memories of Easter growing up. Have never really thought about what goes into that. Like, I had an awesome time at family gatherings, picking up Easter eggs, depending on the age. Never thought, like, what goes into setting that up. Are you part of that, the Easter setup?
Nah, my kid's been out of the egg thing for a minute, but I don't think eggs is the vibe. Easter's a different holiday from when I was a kid, man. These kids get gifts on Easter now.
What?
Yeah.
My gift was an individually wrapped Reese's inside of an egg that I had to go find.
Right. Yeah. Right. I was talking about some people at work today that have kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, what did you get your kids for Easter?" And they were talking back and forth, and I mean, they're talking about some pretty sizable gifts, not Christmas-like, but definitely sizable gifts.
Right.
We're like, hold on a second, you guys got gifts? Like, we had to search the house for some Easter eggs. We maybe got like 20 things of Skittles, jelly beans, maybe a Reese's, little bunny that had peanut butter inside. That was the gold standard of Easter candy at the time. But definitely didn't get any gifts. I feel like I was born in the wrong generation here.
Yeah, man, they customizing baskets now, man, with gift cards. It's kind of like a stocking stuffer in the spring a little bit, man. It's not what we were when we was kids. We got stink eggs that were hidden out in the field around the house and whatnot, and some candy. That was it.
And
and a church speech you couldn't forget, or you getting your ass beat.
A week or two later, Dad cursing because the lawnmower found an Easter egg that wasn't found.
Right. Yo, that was the worst.
Holler at us on
rake that up, man.
Yeah, holler at us on Twitter if you're a dad, mom, somebody who is finding Easter egg with your lawnmower, or when you find them in the coming weeks.
But the best part about Easter is a couple days later when that one egg that your parents forgot where they put it, you find it, and it's like reliving Easter all over again, you know. But times were a little simpler, a little different back then.
For sure.
So, I'll add
like
Easter presents
that
for
found
the
the
future.
eggs and ate them. Did you eat the eggs, Nick?
So we had the plastic eggs that opened up. Like we would do like the egg coloring.
Yeah.
But like those, they would get thrown out like so quick that we weren't putting like hard-boiled eggs out there. We had those plastic eggs that opened up, and there'd be like jelly beans or Reese's stuff in them.
Did you like search for like actual eggs, Corey?
Yeah, they hit. Well, we didn't eat them, but yeah, they hit actual eggs. Yeah, for sure. They would dye them. Boil them, of course. They're not. They're not. They're not.
You got some rotten eggs.
But it was some weird kids that would eat them, man. I remember one time we was at a church and this kid was like farting the rest of like the evening, man. He ate like 4 eggs. I was like, bro, you ate the eggs that was in the field? I'm like, yeah, man.
That's nuts.
Man.
We always did plastic.
He farted the whole service.
Oh, geez. Awesome. Well, boys, it's good to be back.
That's the intro too. We're talking about farts. My bad.
No, you're good. That's why I love the show. We got a good show for you. We're going to do an Orange and Blue game recap. We're going to talk a little bit about the commitments that we got both in football and in basketball. We're going to bring Brandon Marcello on from 247 Sports to talk a little national picture for us. But as always, I want to thank our title sponsor for Stadium and Gale, Alan Horn from Alan Horn Insurance. Alan is a State Farm agent in Jasper, Georgia that specializes in auto, home, renters, life, business insurance, and retirement planning in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Check him out, alanhorninsurance.com, or visit him, or call him at 706-692-2888. Again, Alan Horn, HORNE insurance.com, or 706-692-2888. All right, gentlemen, want to get into the recruiting get that the Gators got in football. Pardon me. Geez. Use your words, Dan. The Gators grabbed wide receiver commit Tyree Patterson, who's unranked by some and ranked 3 stars by a few other recruiting services, out of Eustis, Florida, which is just north of Orlando.
Shout out to Brady Singer, also from Eustis, Florida.
Man, 6'2", 180 pounds, ranked as the 224th best receiver on the On3 consensus. I think they're missing a ranking, maybe by ESPN or something, that really throws that off, but a 3-star prospect on On3. I know there's a lot of hot takes about this commitment. The internet was a buzz yesterday evening about it, but the Gators do land their second commitment from this class. So, Nick, I want to get your thoughts on it, and then Selk, I want to get yours.
Well, my first thought was just like seeing the reaction, and it's just like, man, I couldn't imagine being a kid committing to the University of Florida, which means you had a committable offer. The staff likes you. The staff has done their work, and they've accepted you. You think you're about to have this great day. I'm going to commit. And then the whole internet was just like, what the hell are we taking this kid for? And it's just like, man, that's got to be a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, Nick, sorry to interrupt you. He even had to tweet out yesterday. I mean, he didn't have to, but he did. He said, rankings don't matter. Someone will recognize you. Just put the work in and don't stop. That was so clearly just a few hours after. It. Yeah. Well, I've no doubt people tagged him and stuff and, commented on his, quote tweet and everything else.
Big body guy. You gave his stats out there. I think he's fluid. He's got good acceleration. And as a bigger receiver goes, I think he high points the ball well. Does a good job catching the ball away from his body. Like, listen, he's not. I have a series of stories coming out of where Florida thinks they need to go in the transfer portal, and he's not going to be one of those guys. I think they need to get a receiver, a slot kind of receiver, Kadarius Toney type, something like that. And this is not him. I think Patterson is a good guy in terms of run blocking. He's physical, and I think he's good. He has really good hands for his size. Is he the highest rated guy? No, but also, man, I was kind of taken aback by just like the reaction to the commitment over the weekend.
Yeah, 53 catches, 1,078 yards, and 13 touchdowns as a junior, averaging 20.3 yards per catch. Silk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the production is good. 6'2", good size. The top end speed, I don't see it on the film. I do like he got some wiggle. He makes big plays happen. High points the ball. A lot of the stuff that Nick said. From watching the film and the production, I wasn't mad at the take. I don't know how many wide receivers we're taking. If we're taking like 5, then I kind of get it if he's the bottom of this class. But I don't think the kid's a bad football. He's a football player. He can play football, bro. You cut the film on. I think he's going to end up a 4-star. I do think the position needs a true slot and also some top end speed because we have big physical receivers already. So I can see that great. But some people, it's different than having just a take and then just crying and harping on a kid not being good enough to go to your favorite school all day on Twitter in April, because a lot of these evals are still behind because of COVID and things like that. This kid haven't camped a lot. So he has a chance to improve his rankings. I just thought it was a bit too much as far as like the fan reaction. But congrats to the kid. I think he can play football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't have a lot of takes on him. I don't know much about him. I think this may have been the first time I saw his name. Again, you're watching highlight film. The kid looks like he can high point the ball, looks like he's pretty decent at seam routes and getting open there. A lot of his film, and you can base this on coaching. You can base it on the scheme that they ran. Not a ton of different routes. A lot of the same type of routes on the route tree. Say what?
A lot of tunnel screens.
Yeah, a lot of that. So, but I did think that the reaction was definitely overblown. You have to imagine that the Gators are going to probably try to target 3 or 4 wide receivers in this class. And there's a lot of wide receiver talent in the state of Florida, and Florida's not going to get it all, right? Florida needs to work their plan. They need to get a group of receivers that fit what the mold of their type of receiver is and build out a class that fits that mold to be able to accentuate the room. I don't like adding kids. I don't like the commentary about them, not being good or being bad, because almost nobody knows who he is. And you can say, well, Dan, that's an argument that Florida shouldn't have taken him. Well, I'd argue that the kid probably camped and earned an offer, right? There's a lot more film that this staff has seen than you'll ever see. I think that if you're going to say you trust Billy Napier, if you're going to trust the ability of this coaching staff, if you're going to trust the 719 different analysts that they have watching film, then you have to say, hey, I trust that these guys are making evaluations based on their knowledge of the game and the way that they are approaching building out their roster. So you can say, hey, interesting take at the time. You can want receivers that are more highly rated, but to dog a kid that gets an opportunity that very few do, and that's to play at the University of Florida as a college student, is not only wrong, it's immature and pretty embarrassing that a kid just a few hours after probably one of the happiest moments of his football life has to go and talk about and defend his ability to a group of fans that should be welcoming him.
Right. Yeah. Even if you don't trust the staff, man, just grow the fuck up. Right. You can get your take off having an opinion about not being the take or whatever. We shouldn't have taken him. It was too early, but I just think that there's just a difference between getting your opinion off and just harping on, and some people just take it way too serious.
Yeah. Well, this is their job, right? The Gators coaching staff has a lot more to lose than you do as a fan, right?
Yeah.
If they take a bunch of bad takes, they're fired. And you can say, yeah, they get buyout money and everything else, but they lose their job. They have to uproot their life. They have to move their families and everything else. Their job is to evaluate football players and build out a successful roster. And I assure you that that's what they're trying to do.
I would say you're not going on a limb there. That is what they're trying to do.
Thank you, Nick. So Tyree Patterson, the second commitment in this class. I can imagine that over the next couple of weeks, you'll start to see some more.
That's the thing, man. Like it's so many decision dates, big decision dates this summer.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to rush to like criticize the staff about takes and if these guys really can recruit. We got some big decision dates, and we'll find out what's what. If we land these guys, a lot of I-4 action. So if we can land these guys, then we'll know what we got. We will. Then I'm gonna crank out my takes. You feel me? Right now,
Right.
I'm just gonna vibe. We'll see what the big dogs decide,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll know what we got as a staff this summer.
Yeah. No, I think that you can argue and want about recruiting and stars and everything else, but you have to do that holistic, or you have to do that as a part of a whole, not individual. And I think that that's the toughest part that sometimes, we forget. You don't know if this is the next great 3-star wide receiver or, somebody that's not, but we're still years away from knowing that, right?
Yeah, people just hungry and thirsty for anything, especially after spring. And I said, if I thought we was getting a commit, it'd be like a mid 3-star, somebody we didn't know, or wasn't that familiar with. It wasn't because none of the studs, none of the big people had any smoke. It just hasn't been trending that way as far as somebody popping at the spring game. A lot of these kids have dates.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got the notification or the text somebody had committed, I didn't expect anything big. Was surprised at receiver because the state's loaded at wide receiver. So that was my surprise. It wasn't a name that I knew at wide receiver. DB and wide receivers loaded this year. So we'll let it all play out. We'll see what's what. If you've been following recruiting long enough, you know that a commit don't mean much either way, staff or player. So we'll just let it all play out. Don't slander the kids' talents.
We're still at the absolute earliest 8 months away from having signed on the dotted line, or any player for that matter. With all of that being said, let's bring our guest on today. But before we do that, let's give some love to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Visit homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale, all one word. Get 15% off of your order. If you are a fan of, let me pull this up real quick because there's a ton of schools here. Besides the University of Florida, if you're a fan of Maryland, Virginia Tech, Air Force, not Alabama, Colorado, Xavier, West Virginia, Houston, or Fairfield, all coming out in the not too distant future. So go visit homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale. Get 15% off of your order. With all of that being said, we want to welcome our guest today, Brandon Marcello of 247 Sports. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on today, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. Just got back from giving blood for the first time, and I'm still standing, so it's good. I didn't pass out.
We need to start getting some incendiary questions, getting ready for Brandon now, because a little woozy, right. Maybe not the best decision making.
We need to get him on the sauce to get his real takes off. You know.
My wife said that today. She's probably incriminating her. She was like, in college we used to volunteer blood drives and do all that, and then we get drunk quicker. We go out and party afterward. I'm like, who did I marry? I'm over here eating raisins, replenishing myself.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, Brandon, absolute pleasure to have you on. Looking forward to chatting with you, kind of big picture. But first off, want to hear a little bit about your personal story. We've been following you on the Stadium and Gale account, for a while. And I've been watching your weight loss journey. So first off, congratulations. We'll want to hear a little bit more about maybe what inspired that and kind of where you've gone over your journey so far.
Yeah, man, I just got sick of feeling uncomfortable in my own body, if that makes any sense. And, having a little kid opened my eyes to like, wow, it hurts to get on the floor and play with him and all that. And, I wanted to be healthy and live longer. And I had lost weight before. I lost 60 something pounds once before about a decade ago, and I had ballooned and gained all that back plus more. So I went, you know what? I'm going to change this and started doing a meal plan and just walking every day. And it was really that simple. And still got about like 8 more pounds I want to hit before I start doing a lot more weight training. But I've lost, as of Saturday, I had lost 141 pounds.
Wow. That's like a Backstreet Boy in their prime. You've lost an entire Backstreet Boy.
Yeah. And I also decided, hey, I'm going to, because I'm growing my beard back. I shaved my beard off because I want to see what my face looks like after losing all that weight. And I found out that I developed a turkey neck in that time.
So the beard's coming back.
So the beard, yeah. I walked out and my wife goes, "You look weird." I go, "Yeah." The moment I left the bathroom, I started growing it back because that's not me. Not happening.
My girlfriend called. She said, beards are makeup for men. And I was like,
you're exactly right.
Maybe I shaved mine down today.
You're not uglier.
Well, I also got a beard.
Beholder, Corey.
What's that?
I said
that. No, I don't think you're cuter when you grow a beard, Nick. Is what it was saying. You're the same ugly.
I'll keep trying.
I need a beard just because I don't have any hair on my head either. So
likewise, bro. Yeah,
you got to have something.
Got to stick together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just a few years away. Slowly but surely.
It's a big hat podcast here.
That's a big hat podcast. Right. And it's happening to Nick too. Brandon, do want to get kind of your thoughts. You've covered the SEC for a while. I know you covered Auburn for 247 in SEC country, and obviously followed Auburn for a long, long time. Mississippi State as well. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on kind of the state of the SEC. Obviously, you want to talk a little bit about Florida first. Obviously, the Gators bring on Billy Napier, a whole new coaching staff. Obviously, you were able to cover the Dan Mullen era a bit when you were covering Mississippi State as well. But what are your thoughts on kind of maybe what happened to Florida, and then what are your thoughts on Billy Napier?
Yeah, not to say like you could see it coming for Dan Mullen, but you just knew with him on a bigger stage and a bigger spotlight that unless he changed his whole perspective on recruiting, at some point that was going to catch up with them. And it caught up faster than I thought. I thought he might end up winning a national championship at Florida before that caught up with him. But it happened. And so Florida, we all know this. You guys know it. I mean, Florida is a program that can and should win national championships. They should probably win a national championship once every 10 to 15 years. And then if you get on a really good streak with a fantastic coach, maybe you can win a couple of national championships within a decade. But the thing is that you got to have the right type of coach. You got to have some consistency there. And so kind of what I was afraid of seeing with Dan Mullen coming in there and then the quick decision to get rid of him was you don't want to go down that road where you become like a Tennessee where you make one bad hire and then you make an okay hire and then they decide to leave on their own or something happens. Kind of like the Lane Kiffin situation is what really set that all in motion. He left and that thing, they were freaking out every year. And so, but with Florida, you bring in a guy with Billy Napier who obviously understands the SEC, but understands building a staff, how to recruit in the South. And I know you guys have probably talked about that ad nauseum, and the fans are very, very well aware of how organized Billy Napier is, and also just how great of recruiters he brings on staff and how they do that. And that's going to be not necessarily an overnight thing for Florida, even though Napier and the staff's the type where you go, well, this should make an immediate impact. I think it's probably like a 2 or 3 year process for them to get Florida back up to that level where you might see a top 5 class and being in the top 10 every single year in recruiting, which is enough to get you into the national championship conversation. But for Florida, they're doing everything right off the field right now. I mean, with the NIL collective, the obvious hiring of Billy Napier and the building the personnel staff there. And what's really intriguing to me, and I'm sure you guys too, is not necessarily the recruiting with the high school kids right away, But I'm interested to see what Florida's going to do in the transfer portal here these next few weeks, because you're starting to see it today. These kids entering all across the country after their spring practices in. You really just don't know who's going to enter. And I mean, and listen, there could be 2-3 guys out there that aren't even in the portal right now that'll be starters for the Florida Gators next season. And it might be the difference in them winning 6 games to maybe getting 9 or 10 wins. That's the era we live in now. And to me, that's what makes college football so much more exciting nowadays. And, it's insane how not necessarily you could change an entire team, but you can change an outlook just based off of getting in the transfer portal.
It was interesting because I started calculating after every signing class and transferring in and out. I'll calculate what Florida's scholarship numbers are, and heading into spring they were at 92, and that's fine. Since I've been at Florida 10 years now, they're never really above the 85. They didn't want to operate like that, so Florida was at 92, and then of course you have a career-ending injury to Gage Wilcox, the tight end. Emory transfers out, so then they're at 90. And Billy comes out there one day in a press conference and goes, "We're going to be very aggressive in the transfer portal." And I was like, "Excuse me, you have to have a double-digit transfers out of your program to even accept like 3 guys." And he said very aggressive. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's probably going to happen at Oklahoma, LSU, USC, guys who stuck around for spring and just said, "Hey, I tried it. I didn't sign to this coaching staff. They've changed the offensive or defensive philosophy. I gave it a shot. It's not for me." And it's never been easier, which I agree with. It's never been easier for a player to transfer. Because in the past, if I'm a junior and I played here for 2 years, 3 years, I'm going to lose my senior season or have to redshirt my senior season. And when the coaches can come and go as they please, that's not fair. So I get it. But now I'm looking at Florida's roster and thinking, I don't know who it's going to be quite yet, but there's going to be possibly 10 guys leaving if you're really trying to, fill some spaces. So I think Billy, all of our spidey senses in that press conference, Brandon, kind of like started tingling. And we're like, all right, well, yeah, now we know it's coming, because if he's going to be very aggressive, there's got to be at least 5 more guys to transfer just to get to the 85 for fall. So we're going to be in for it, I think, in this second free agent period of college football.
Yeah. And listen, it's for these first-year coaching staffs, and even and to a certain extent, even the second, third-year staffs, like Sam Pittman at Arkansas or Mel Tucker at Michigan State, they're still very aggressive in the portal. Not as much so as they were last year, but they're still aggressive. And listen, I think there's been 2 schools so far that have done like almost perfect work in the transfer portal, and that's Michigan State and Arkansas, as I just mentioned. Arkansas on a lesser extent, but I mean, goodness gracious, you get it like a Felipe Franks, which obviously didn't light the world on fire at Florida, but he was exactly what Arkansas needed to kind of transition them into what they got now with the KJ Jefferson era. And then at Michigan State, goodness gracious, they revamped that entire roster. 33 to 34% of that roster was new in Mel Tucker's first year, partially because of the transfer portal and then obviously recruiting with the high school kids. And look what he was able to do in that first offseason. So that's what, again, makes it so fascinating when you watch some of these schools. Florida right now, USC obviously with Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma to a lesser extent, but they seem pretty set right now. And look, and you've got like a mini like NFL team right now in Ole Miss, where Lane Kiffin's just like, come here and play for a year, and we'll win 8-9 games, have some fun, and then I'm going to just restock and reload. It's almost like Lane Kiffin got a piece of paper, or not a piece of paper, but he went on the 24/7 Sports transfer portal rankings and just goes, who's the top available tight end? Can I get them? And then he gets them, and if he doesn't, he literally goes to number 2 and number 3. Like, if you went down to see, based off the timeline of when these players committed to them, it was usually the top available guy. By the way, sorry, there's my that game boy. You could tell. I just saw that on the screen. I was like, what is that?
We're saving a life, Brandon. That's what you're doing. You saved a life today.
Look at me. I'm so heroic. No, but it was like he just went down a list and was like, just give me the best guy. And we'll see if that works year to year. I don't know if that's sustainable. Maybe it is because he's Lane Kiffin. But If you want to revamp a roster, man, you can do it. And I don't think it gets talked about enough that Michigan State was able to do it, and Arkansas to a certain extent was able to do it. And I think you're going to see on a bigger stage now, it's going to open their eyes up because they're going to see USC change overnight. They might not win the Pac-12, but they're going to probably win 9 or 10 games and look good doing so. And maybe Florida, maybe you can get that with Florida. You add one really great skill player and then one really great defensive player, a skill player on defense, and that could change the outlook for everything.
Brendan, I want to get your thoughts on the SEC as a whole. Obviously, we know about Alabama, we know about Georgia, right? Probably both likely going to be competing, if not in the college football national or the college football playoff. Outside of that, touch us a little bit about the SEC. Who else? I mean, obviously you have Texas A&M sitting out there. Is Tennessee going to get better? Are they going to get over that hump? Ole Miss, obviously, has a good coach, and they've been, getting transfer portal talent. Talk to us a little bit about the state of the SEC outside of those two schools.
I'm kind of high this year on Tennessee. I don't gamble. Maybe I should, so I can actually make money, but or lose a lot of it. But I saw the over-unders on Tennessee, their win totals early, and I think they're going to hit the over just because it's almost a lot like Ole Miss was a year ago in the offseason, where I was just like, if Ole Miss's defense just shows any life, they're going to win more games. And I'm kind of the same way with Tennessee going into this year, but I got to look at the schedule again and kind of where those games set up. But you look across the SEC, we see a lot of programs in a, not just, we say flux, but like a state of change. LSU, listen, is always going to be talented. They're going to have players, but they're replacing a lot of guys. I think we almost lose track of how many guys LSU lost because a lot of those players were leaving in the middle of the season last year. And so Brian Kelly comes in, and the roster's not quite what it's been at LSU in past years, though it's still talented. It's going to take some time to get that thing turned around. And A&M, everybody's just like putting all the hype on them, and they're going to expect it to win right away. I'm telling you, their window to even compete for an SEC West title is 23 or 24. It's not this year. I mean, they're just not going to do it this year. They might win 8 games again, and people are going to go it's a disappointment.
They'll beat Florida when Florida goes to College Station.
Relax, Nick. Jeez.
I'm the
just give the folks optimism before.
I'm the journalist voice on this fan podcast.
The man just said we about to go stupid in the transfer portal, and Nick just predicted us just to lose in College Station.
All right, well, Dan Mullen got mad when there were 25,000 people in that stadium. He called it 1 million. There's actually going to be 1 million when they go this year.
Well, listen, A&M's going to be good. Until Jimbo Fisher shows me that he's willing to evolve with the times offensively with his quarterback and receivers,
right?
I got to see that explosiveness consistently. And listen, the things I keep getting told inside that program is that they are moving that direction. But that's what it takes. You got to have an elite quarterback and a great receiver, a game breaker. And that's actually kind of what held me back on Georgia a little bit last year because I just didn't see it in Stetson Bennett. I mean, I think a lot of people did. And then Bennett just got more consistent near the end of the year and did what he had to do. But I think A&M, that talent won't really come together for them until 23, 24. So long story short, across the SEC, you're seeing programs that aren't quite what I think people believe they should be or what they're going to be in a year or two. A&M and LSU really get that for me. Ole Miss, I think people are giving a lot of credit to Lane Kiffin as they should, but I don't see that as a team that's going to win 9 games this year or maybe even 8. I think they're going to have some struggles replacing as much as they had to and counting on so many first-year players while they are veterans to come in and immediately just pick up where the last offense left off. That I've got issues with that. But I'm high on Tennessee just because if that defense just turns things around a little bit, they should win more games. And that offense is explosive as heck, as we've seen. Georgia, they'll take a half step back. They should still win the SEC East. South Carolina, that's a team that I think is going to be better than a lot of people think, just because
Spencer
their
Rattler
offensive.
or-
No, not just him. The offensive talent, they have upgraded at practically every spot they've needed to. Their offensive line is going to be pretty good. I like kind of how they've kind of rebuilt that roster a little bit, and I think they're going to be able to show it on the field this year a little bit more and a little bit earlier than some think. Now, what does that mean? That means maybe they could be an 8-win team, you know, at their height. So, and with Florida, I just don't know. I love Anthony Richardson. I wrote a column about him today. He's going to be a superstar, guys. I'm sure you guys see it too. He's just got to get those pieces around him. And again, that's what the transfer portal is so exciting. You just don't know what they could add here to maybe take Florida into that realm of being a little bit of a sleeper next season.
The
Last
problem
year-
with the portal
last
for
year-
us, I'm
sorry,
sorry, Dan, you did have, Nick, you did have next. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Last year I wrote Anthony Richardson could be the answer to what if Cam Newton never stole a laptop, and it might have been premature at the time, but it looks like it's getting there. I want to put you on the spot a little bit because you went in a lot of win totals with some other SEC teams. I'm definitely lower on the win total. I think Corey's at 15. Dan might be at 9. What if I put the win total for Florida at 6.5 next year?
Hold on, Brandon.
Over or under?
Before you answer that, Brandon, Nick, you strategically avoided giving your answer to number of wins when you asked that question and just passed the buck on yourself. So tell the fans how many fans how many wins you're predicting.
6.5.
Okay, are you over 7 wins?
Under 7.5. I'm over 6.5.
Perfect.
Under 7.5.
Great. Nick said 7 wins. All right, Brandon. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I got to pull up the schedule. Do they open?
Open with Pac-12 champion Utah.
We smacking Utah.
That's a
Brandon.
lie. Following up with Kentucky. Brandon, there's a real possibility Billy
You're
Napier
about
starts
to lean
0-2.
on them folks, man.
I think Kentucky's not going to be.
You think they're a down year for Kentucky?
Yeah. I think they might end up actually being below 500 this year.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
the Utah start when the game is scheduled 6 years ago. Florida thinks, okay, it's a name school. We're not playing
3 years ago.
University of Southwest Northeasterly Missouri Tech. You get Utah, and then all of a sudden Utah shows up, wins the Pac-12 last year, and they return like 80% of that roster, including their quarterback.
Yeah. Utah is salty this year. I mean, their offense is going to be a lot of fun. Wow, I'm looking at the schedule here. This is pretty favorable for Florida.
No,
to be honest. No, I'm telling you.
At A&M, Georgia.
Listen, I'm going to be honest.
At a Tennessee team that you like.
Nick, you need to stop.
I'm trying to recruit Brandon to my side.
He's trying to make the guy hate.
But here, Brandon is a national writer reviewing the schedule in real time.
But I'm telling you,
annoying guy in the back of the class.
Yeah, he's trying to change his mind.
Let's go game by game.
Texas A&M is a game that Florida probably should lose anyway. So it's on the road. So that's good. You get a home game in return for that you might be a coin flip game. So for example, maybe Mizzou. Maybe Mizzou's a coin flip game, but it's at home for Florida.
The problem is Mizzou's been a coin flip game the entire time Mizzou's been in the SEC. It probably shouldn't be.
Okay, yeah, let's go game by game with this. I don't want to take up too much time. Utah loss. So just to add these up for me, because I'm bad with math, and
I got you. Hold
okay.
on, I got my pen
All right,
out.
so Utah, you're predicting a Utah victory.
Utah victory.
Okay.
Kentucky, man, that's a push. Kentucky. That early in the year.
In Florida.
We'll say that win for Florida.
Perfect.
South Florida, that's a win for Florida. At Tennessee, that's a win for Tennessee. Again, a game that Florida's probably going to lose anyway. I'm going to be honest because of Tennessee with the offense they've got.
The listeners will not be happy to hear that.
I know. Listen. That's why I'm here. I don't. They can jump on me all I want.
You just get your takes off, Brandon. We're not mad at it.
The 17-year-old Florida Gator fan has only seen Tennessee beat Florida once, but it can still happen.
Can you imagine living that way? Not seeing the past.
Still about to be one time next year, Brandon. Ain't nothing gonna change, man. It's what we
Well,
do.
the 34-year-old Kentucky fan has only seen his team beat Florida twice.
Yeah. Eastern
And
Washington.
Both of those were since Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Both of them. Yeah, both of them
Out the
for
gate.
Dan.
First
That's
year he
nuts.
lost to Kentucky.
Eastern
nuts.
Washington, that's a W.
W. Mizzou in Gainesville.
That should be a W.
W. That defense terrible. Defensive line terrible. LSU in Gainesville. Whew. LSU.
Okay, that's
All
a
right,
lot.
so
We're down to
4-3 at the bye week.
Cocktail
Well,
party.
Listen, you're 4-4. You're 4-4.
Cocktail party, Georgia. At A&M, A&M.
Yeah, 4-5. Now we're a losing record in November.
South Carolina in Gainesville.
I'm not going to influence you.
Carolina.
So 4-6.
Now we're talking about bowl eligibility in mid-November.
Y'all got my Gators fucked up.
I told you, Corey's got him 15-0. We're in the playoff.
No, I'm not ridiculous, man. I do like A&M on the road is a tough one.
It's
Just
not
too many
tough, it's a
unknowns,
loss.
man.
Right. There's a lot of coin flips.
The way I view Anthony Richardson, just like you do, Brandon, as a superstar. And superstars change games, bro. He's gonna elevate the play of the players around him. So
yeah, I've got two.
I'm not seeing that, man.
I got two games here that I got coin flips in my mind. I'm already chalking up, and that's Mizzou and Carolina. At Vandy, easy win. At Florida State, that's a win.
Easier win. Yeah.
So that's 6
So
and
what?
6.
6-6. So I guess under. Man, I wouldn't have thought that. I've been thinking maybe 7. But again, there's 2 games in there that I think that I'm waffling on.
The two you're waffling on were South Carolina,
South Carolina, Mizzou.
Yeah.
which you called a South Carolina loss, and so that's like a coin flip in your mind then.
Yeah.
And then LSU, you kind of said was a toss up too, but I think you had the LSU taking it.
Yeah, I got LSU taking it.
And I'll tell you this, I would probably, regardless, a lot would have to happen before that game for me to pick Florida. Just considering I watched what happened in 2020, LSU ran up a gigantic bill at a restaurant in 2019. They called in every favor, and then 2020 came and they had to pay the bill. They walked out without paying for dinner in 2019, and they had to pay it every week. And 2020 comes, they beat Florida. Last year, beat Florida. I will pick LSU to win this year unless something crazy has happened, and I'll be fine being wrong. But you can't lose to those last 2 LSU teams and then call LSU an easy win this year, no matter what's happening in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, but again, a lot of this is going to depend on, of course, we just don't know what Florida's honestly going to look like.
But the game's not in Baton Rouge either, Nick.
It doesn't matter.
Oh,
The game last year matters. No. I said what happened in Baton Rouge. The game being in
yeah,
Florida,
I mean, you're not gonna have a Dan Mullen sitting the best player on the team and shoes getting thrown in the dark and nothing weird like that going down. So playing in the swamp absolutely matters. We looked like a decent football team and almost beat Alabama last year. Probably should have beat them, to be honest, just because that stadium was loud. So coming to the swamp matters, bro.
It does. Listen, when I was covering Auburn, when Auburn went there, what year was that with Bo Nix?
2019.
Man, that's what the Auburn fans were talking about, that they put in noisemakers, and I was like, no, that's Wi-Fi. It's the first year they've had actual Wi-Fi in the stadium. Nope, it was too loud. Those are noisemakers. I'm like, it's the only reason you could tweet about how loud it was is because the noisemaker under you.
It was crazy loud for that game. I remember I've been to 4 games in the swamp in the past. An Arkansas game when Tebow was there, and I can't remember what else. I covered an Alabama game there once. Auburn, Mississippi State when Dan Mullen went in there and beat Florida and Urban Meyers last year, I guess. Anyway, but yeah,
that was an ugly game.
Oh, it's terrible. Mississippi State didn't throw a single pass in the second half other than a shovel pass for near the end zone in the red zone. That game was bad to watch. But yeah, and I was impressed obviously with the swamp. But man, winning that game with Auburn, and I was like, holy crap!
The place really went nuts for that LaMichael P. Ryan run.
Yes. Yeah.
We had kind of written about, he had given us some great quotes about Auburn. Gus Malzahn told me I wasn't fast enough
Yeah.
to be in the SEC.
Yeah.
So fans kind of knew like that little backstory. And he breaks this 80-yard run. It's kind of like, well, no one can catch him on the other team. So maybe he is. What was your impression of Tom Petty? That was your first time seeing it live?
Wait. Oh,
between the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, listen, I love that about pretty much any college team, but especially the SEC. Every SEC team's got some type of something unique that goes on in the stadium. And sometimes you've heard about it, then you forget about it, then it starts happening, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a thing here. You know, have you guys been to College Station, for example, when you're?
I have.
I only went in 2020, and there was none of the pageantry. So I'm looking forward to this year.
It's just amazing to watch, you know. And I missed. I mean, they put a new press box in, so this doesn't matter to anybody else. But like reporter wise, like the old press box there would sway, and you're up like. I mean, I used to call it College Space Station because it seems like. I mean. You're way up there, and it's just you're swaying back and forth, and they got signs up saying, "Hey, don't be frightened. Your chair's going to move," and your chair's sliding on wheels and everything. It's an amazing atmosphere.
They had that in when I was there in 2020. It's like the printout of where like, "Hey, here's your media password, your Wi-Fi password." It's like, by the way, you're not going to fall. It's going to feel like it, but you're not going to fall.
Yeah,
there weren't enough people in the stadium the day that I was.
The new press box is stronger. I was there when
they still felt the need to warn me.
Yeah. In 2019, I was there for a game, and it didn't sway nearly as much as the old press box. That old one was like I'm glad they had signs up because if I didn't even see that sign beforehand, I would have thought, "Oh, there's an earthquake. We're going to die."
Oh man! So Brandon, have the Gators at 6-6. SEC, you've got Alabama and Georgia playing one another in the SEC championship.
Yeah, that's what I've got right now.
Yeah, I think everybody is pretty safe in predicting that. You think Georgia beats Alabama again this year? I mean, obviously, I know they lost to them in the SEC championship, but do you think that this is still Georgia's year, or do you think Nick Saban puts it together, or who do you have as the SEC champion?
I think this will end up being one of Saban's best teams that he's had. The best team he's had was 2020, but this one's going to be right up there.
He's polishing it off in the portal like something crazy right now.
Yeah,
man.
all Nick Saban needs is adversity, and adversity in Nick Saban's universe is losing in the national championship game. And
I think they're going to kill teams on their, their schedule.
Absolutely. I said it after they lost in last year. Like, bro, he's coming back with a vengeance, man.
When Alabama loses the national championship, you're like, oh man, Ohio Wesleyan, I'm so sorry. You're going to get paid $1.25 million for that opening weekend, or whoever the team is.
He walks away at all?
I don't think so.
Could be his best team, man. I think they beat the crap out of everybody.
I think he'll do it until his hip completely gives out and he can't stand anymore. I think he's going to coach until that, or unless there's like he sees that Alabama doesn't have a chance to even compete for the next year or two. But I don't think he'll leave until that happens. Yeah,
yeah. Like at what point does that happen where Alabama's not going to compete and he'll find a GA that can push his wheelchair around on the sideline?
I think he's eaten up with it, man. I mean, the great ones, we all know that they're like that. Brady, Jordan, those guys were so freaking unhappy when they were at their best. And that's what they gave up. They didn't care. And then you look at Brady now, you can go actually enjoy life. And he's like, I don't want that. I want to be miserable again because I want to win another title. And Saban's, he's going to put as much space between him and the next guy when it comes to being the best. So he's got like another 2 or 3 championships in him.
Brandon, I've got a question for you. Obviously, we're still probably a few years out, but who do you think takes over for Nick Saban? Do you think it's an internal promotion? I mean, that, in my opinion, that's got to be the hardest job in the world to take over, right? You can be like, oh, look at all the talent that you're getting, but the expectations are going to be through the roof no matter who you hire. What do you think?
Easier for Lyndon B. Johnson to take over as president than the next person to take over after Saban.
Well, listen, it's you don't want to be the guy that replaces a guy, and I don't know if it would be an internal guy because it's like, who is Saban's guy? He doesn't have a guy, you know. And when he does, quote unquote, it's a guy like Kirby Smart who, wasn't like they were buds and I want you to be the next head coach here. It was like, when was Kirby going to get another job somewhere? He wanted the Auburn job, and then he ended up going to Georgia a few years later. So I think they would go outside. I think they'll try to hire the next big thing. I just I don't know who that is. I don't think anybody knows who it is. I know everybody wants to say Dabo, but if that's 5 years from now, and maybe 7 or 8 years from now, like I personally think, I think Saban's going to coach like till 2030. I think he's going to keep going. I mean, at that point, Dabo might be like, "I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to go retire." So the next head coach might not be a head coach right now. They might be a position coach somewhere, about to become the next hot OC or DC somewhere.
That's crazy to think about. Nick, I think you had a final question. Very good.
Speechless.
Yeah, he's speechless. Brandon,
I was on mute. I had one more.
Perfect. Go ahead.
We're looking in the future here. Better hire or who has more success in 5 years? Since it's a Florida podcast, we're looking at the West Division rival LSU. Brian Kelly at LSU or Florida with Billy Napier?
Billy Napier at Florida. I think LSU is going to regret the day they decided we're not going to give Napier a shot at the job at LSU because he's an in-state guy and we don't want to do that. And the boosters weren't going to be sold on it. I think they will regret that at some point. I think Brian Kelly is going to be successful there, but I don't think he's going to win a national championship there. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Napier has the opportunity to do that at Florida because they're not in the West and they're going to be in a position once OU and Texas join the conference, there's going to be a little bit of chaos with some of those teams like an A&M and an LSU and maybe an Alabama at times that maybe, depending on how the schedule is and with pods and all that, that maybe a program like Florida can be able to rise above that every now and again and be that odd one out that's actually the odd one in every now and again. And so I think the pressure's more on those traditional programs that have been successful or been consistent lately because you're going to get these big dogs in here, an OU and a Texas, that recruiting-wise are going to get better because they're in the SEC. I mean, look, you know this, Nick. Look at A&M's recruiting compared in the Big 12 to where it was after they joined the SEC, and compare that to Texas, the Longhorns. The numbers legitimately just flipped with 5- and 4-star blue chip recruits from Texas to Texas A&M, the amount in that same time period. So OU and Texas is going to affect LSU and A&M and Alabama more so than a Florida or a Georgia. And that's going to end up helping Florida as they rebuild that thing. And I think everybody who reads my stuff and has listened to me. I'm a huge believer in Billy Napier. I believe that the day Ed Orgeron said, "I'm leaving," LSU should have been at Billy Napier's front door going, "We want you now. Please get over here. We'll give you anything you want. We'll spend all the money in the world." And when Florida came calling, boy, that's I hate to use a baseball term, but it's a freaking home run. Napier is going to win championships somewhere at some point on a big level, and he's got it in a perfect spot at Florida because you're seeing the money getting poured into it now. Yeah. You're seeing the fan base rally behind that. It's a perfect time to strike while the iron's hot with NIL and the Gator Collective and all of that. I got Napier all day over Brian Kelly when we look back 5 years from now.
Just not this year, Brandon. I wrote down.
No. Listen, it just is what it is.
Nick, man. Easy, bro.
Sorry. Hold on. Someone we both know, Brandon, I remember asking him, what is the dichotomy in Louisiana? And I was like, is it like big brother, little brother? And he goes, UL, he goes, that's like little sister. He's like, that's like, there's no way you can get the big old money, big boosters in Louisiana to buy out a coach from UL. He said, there's no way it's happening. And I was like, what if he was the FAU coach? And they were like, you could probably talk him into it, but there's no way you could do it at UL. And I was like, all right, well, I guess
silly.
I guess that's what it is.
It's all ego and everything. I think every state is like that to a certain extent. Like, listen, I live in Arkansas. Arkansas is not a blue blood program by any means, but the idea of going in and hiring like the coach at Arkansas State for any sport to them is like, that's just not going to happen ever.
Yeah.
They won't even play them. In fact, they don't even schedule games with them.
Well, FSU had no problem hiring Willie Taggart and worked out well.
Well, listen, hey, the other thing though, with Louisiana, that whole thing, it's funny. No one really probably listening to this cares about this, but like Louisiana Tech used to look down on Louisiana and ULM, and now it's been completely flipped because of the Sun Belt and Conference USA and all that stuff. It's amazing how quickly the tables can turn for these mid-level programs just based off of a 5-year stretch. And these haves and have-nots, we're moving more and more to this era. You guys think, I'd be interested to hear what you think, that it's going to get to a point where there's going to be 40, 45 teams that matter, and they might even break away and go do their own thing. And everybody else, they're just going to be have-nots. And what they do just doesn't matter at all on any level.
I think you saw that coming when the Power Five became autonomous. And it was like, they don't need the NCAA to do anything. Like, they can do whatever they want. No one's watching the Sun Belt versus the, A-Sun. No one cares about what the NCAA championship is. If you have the Power Five that breaks off and does their own thing, no one's watching the NCAA football championship. And I think the difference in NIL, the haves and have-nots, I think, like you said, that gap's going to get bigger and bigger because some schools just can't afford.
Yes.
Tennessee just said they had an $8 million deal with, I can't pronounce the guy's name, their quarterback signee or commitment, not signee, their quarterback commitment. So, some schools can't do that. And that might be all of Tennessee's, NIL budget for the sign class. It might have pushed all in, but some schools might not have that for a 4-year class.
Well, you guys saw Saban's comments the other day about how he doesn't think it's a sustainable model. And I think
I don't listen to anything Nick Saban complains about when it comes to NIL.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think he's complaining. I think what he's saying is it's not a sustainable model because guess what? Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, whatever, they'll be able to do it. But do you think that Auburn or Arkansas or Kentucky are going to be able to do that year after year after year after year? Probably not. And that's what's going to, quote unquote, hurt college football. It's just going to become a thing where there's not much parity. And we're going to have to see at some point some type of breakaway where you have a super conference of some sort.
I mean, and the NCAA is the only one that can fall on that sword, right? Because for years and years and years, it had been talked about, and they did nothing about it until it started to get enacted at state legislatures, and all of a sudden they're trying to figure out what to do, and so their response of what to do about it was just say, "It's your problem, you figure it out." Right?
Well, here's the other thing: I don't think the NCAA is going to fix it. It's going to have to be the federal government, and the NCAA has been kicking that can toward them for the last 2 years, and
if I know anything about the federal government speed, it's going to be, the 2030 recruiting class before we get some guidance.
Exactly.
I'm not married, have no kids, and I think if I had a child, the NCAA wouldn't have it figured out by the time he's ready to go to college.
Yeah.
And the federal government, not the NCAA.
I don't think the NCAA wants to figure it out.
Well, I don't think that they do either.
Not only do they drag their feet, they like screaming, tooth and nail, kicking, don't want it to happen and ask the federal government to do something. And the federal government in turn goes, hey, by the way, you're antitrust laws, you're not special. And we need to start looking into that. And then so there's yep, NIL, you guys figure it out. Never mind. We're out of here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, Brandon, we appreciate your time. Thanks for spending 45 minutes with us today.
Oh, wow.
let everybody know. I know the conversations just flow, especially when Nick's just spouting off and shooting from the hip on random thoughts and random ideas.
I thought that was a good segment. We were going through Florida's roster, Florida's schedule. That was a good segment.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Nick. Brandon, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and read all your articles.
At B Marcello on Twitter and Brandon Marcello on all the others, and just go to 247sports.com.
I appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to give Nick the third degree when you get off. It was a pleasure to have Brandon on, a wealth of knowledge, wealth of information. Let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks before we move on. Visit GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use promo code STADIUM. Get 10% off your order if you are looking for a vacuum sealed cup. If you are looking for some of the best steel glassware on the market, go visit GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use promo code STADIUM. Over 350 schools, a lot of NFLPA players as well, PGA golfers, etc. So go visit them, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use promo code STADIUM. Before we get into the orange and blue debut, Nick, I do want to talk to you a little bit about your takes on the Florida Gators schedule for next season. You have the Gators at 7 wins. Brandon ran through his list with losses to Utah. Who else did he have? Kentucky, LSU, South Carolina, Texas A&M.
No, he had a win versus Kentucky.
Oh, okay. A loss against who was his
Missouri.
Losses were
Missouri. Utah, Missouri, LSU, Georgia, A&M. I'm missing one. Or maybe it was a loss versus – I can't remember.
No, he had the Gators starting 2-2. So it was Missouri, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
I can't even make that. I really got to go watch these other teams springs and really do something before I can give like real takes on wins.
Well, also, I was going to give him an out because like he'd already talked about it. Like the transfer portal, and he and I were talking about, is going to be so like furious because all these kids are going to hit the portal, and then they'll be.
We're talking.
Florida's roster right now is going to be drastically different than what it is September 3rd when Utah shows up. I don't think it's going to be better than Utah.
We talking about the fall.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk about the spring game. I wanted Nick to give his opinion on which loss from Brandon was a win in his book.
Definitely USC. I'll never. I mean, it'll take some dire circumstances for me to put like a Missouri or a USC, South Carolina as a loss for Florida. I would have both of those as wins. I think Florida could win 9 games. You could figure out and talk yourself into a situation where they win 9 games. I think I would be thrilled with 8, happy with 7, and 6 is like, okay, well, what happened that you lost in an extra game or 2? So right. I think 7 wins is super realistic for Florida. 8's a really good season, and I don't think 8's out of the realm of possibility. I think 8 fans should be very happy with it with an 8-4 season.
All right. I just wanted to get your thoughts, just because we had talked about it, and I had not gotten that take from you. So we'll obviously talk a little bit more about that as we get a little bit closer to the season. But the Gators did have a football game on Thursday. I want to get your thoughts, Nick, on just the crowd and everything else. The Gators hosted over 300 recruits. Say take that with a grain of salt, probably 50 to 60 of them are Division I prospects, but still pretty good showing there. It seemed like quite a few fans in attendance as well. But Nick, what was the atmosphere like? Obviously, I know that they did the Gator Walk. I want to hear about Johnny Townsend's tailgate if you're able to swing by that, but just give us the atmosphere in Gainesville on Thursday.
Yeah, so it started. It's actually funny. Our 1-year-old dog had surgery, and my girlfriend's parents were able to come and like handle that. And her dad starts driving back down on Wednesday, and he's like, the traffic in Gainesville sucks. And I'm like, really? I hadn't noticed it. And he's like, yeah, it's terrible. I'm like, maybe people are coming in for the game. So I went from thinking maybe 20,000 for the spring game, heading into the weekend before, to thinking, all right, maybe it'll be better. I would guesstimate 30 to 35. Anytime you get a spring game with a nice even round number like 45,000, unless the stadium seats exactly 45,000 and they say, yep, we sold out, every ticket was sold, and there's 45, then I'm going to call shenanigans on your attendance count. I don't think there were 45,000. I think you're in the 30 to 35 range, and it was more than I expected for moving it to a Thursday night and changing the game, a month before.
Were you able to swing by Johnny's tailgate?
Yes, I was. I had to do some stuff before, so I swung by, spent about a half an hour there, 45 minutes there. We had Johnny and Spurrier on the Gators Online podcast. So we saw Johnny around noon on Thursday, and then we swung by a little bit before the game. Got to see my former high school classmate, Major Wright. Shout out to him. I need to text him and get him on the pod because he's got a bunch of stuff going on. Kind of like Corey's done with the Big 3 roll up. I was talking to Major about his books, and he just started a publishing company. He didn't go to look to get somebody to publish his books. He just started a publishing company, found an editor, found illustrators for him. And I was like, that's awesome. We need to get you on to talk about that. Swung by the Townsends, and that was good. That was fun. And it was a good atmosphere. It obviously wasn't like a game day, like a September 3rd will be, but it was a good atmosphere. And I appreciated an actual game, as I alluded to last week, that there wasn't, Rydell Anthony didn't catch a touchdown. You played the actual game, guys were tackling, and so I thought it was a good game. Took a lot away from it, and certainly one of the biggest things that I took away from it is that there's no quarterback battle, there's no quarterback controversy. There's a clear 1 and 2, and then there's a gap between 1 and 2, and a gap between 2 and 3, 4.
And man, AR helped the AR big dog. Big dog talent, man. Very
AR
special
15 for 20 for 191 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sorry, Corey. Go ahead. What were your thoughts on the game? Just kind of big picture. Any players that stood out?
I like what I saw. Even how many tight ends that we had down. Shout out to my man Xanders. He was better than we all thought. He looked the part at the position. So that was a surprise. I like the way my linebackers looked. The one Black, Derek Wingo, even Bernie looked better. And I say that cautiously, but he looked better. All right. The young boy McMillan at safety, he looked great. I like what I saw overall. Run game is going to be a beast. Johnson, the running back that came over from Louisiana, just a great eval by that staff when they got him. He's going to be something special as well once he gets going. He played on both teams. Looked like a workhorse out there. I thought Lingard looked good until they say he pulled the hammy or something like that. But in his limited carries, he looked good himself. I like the play calling, the pace of the offense, what they did with AR. I wasn't mad at all. The offense looked a little different than I thought it would look in the spring game. We could add some top end speeds. The receivers, I thought, played very good. Reynolds surprised me. He was getting some talk in the game, but these guys look like they could play football at wide receiver. It didn't look like we had a slouch bunch. We could use some top end speed for sure.
Do you think so? Billy Napier keeps saying that Dante Xanders will have a role in the fall. Not only will he stay at tight end, because we asked him, is this a permanent move? But he says not only will he stay there, he will have an impact for us in the fall.
No, he looked like you know what he's doing out there, Nick. They don't like.
He came to Florida as a tight end.
For sure.
Shout out to Clay Burton.
Shout out to Clay. That's my guy. I like
he was
Clay
at
Burton.
a Florida. He was at a spring practice. He has little kids running around with him.
Shout out to them boys, man. Burdens. I'm trying to think what else. Offensive line is going to be really good.
I want to see the depth because like those starting 5, 6, if you add Braun into that 6, I like them a lot, especially for what I think Florida is going to try to do.
That's why I think we're going to punch Utah in their mouth in this hot sun in September, Nick. We're going to lay on them people, but I don't want to get to that. What else I like? It's not a lot I didn't like. Backup quarterback scared me.
Yeah.
I don't think Miller looked terrible. I think he's serviceable, but our whole season is predicated on the health of Anthony Richardson.
100%. Like talking to Jack Miller after the game, he looked like I made a huge mistake. Like I did not do enough film study. Like he looked like like of Anthony Richardson. Like I keep saying he didn't transfer to Florida to sit the bench.
Oh, you were serious about that, huh?
Yeah. In his mind, I'm not saying in my mind. In his mind, he didn't transfer to Florida to sit the bench. And then we talked to him after the spring game, and after watching like AR all spring, and I looked at his eyes. I'm like, oh, you didn't know that this is what he's capable of.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him. Yeah. So I think Anthony. The problem is, okay, well, how much of Anthony's hamstring issues last year was because he was playing on a torn meniscus that needed to get repaired, and now your other leg and your other knee is compensating. How much were your other injuries because you're playing on a torn up knee? And he spent more time in the training room last year than on the football field. So does that flip this year? But if not, Florida's in a position where the Jack Miller you saw, that's the next guy up.
Well, I'll say this: there is going to be improvement between this game and in the summer and in the fall. You would hope. That the style of quarterbacking that Anthony Richardson plays with is going to increase his chance of getting injured just in general because you're putting yourself out there more. I do think that Florida is going to have a better offensive line than they did last year. I think that they've got a better stable of running backs, and I think that the offense that they're going to call based on a little bit of what I saw in the game on when I rewatched the Orange and Blue
RPO
debut.
looked good, baby.
Yeah, it did. And so I think that Florida feels comfortable with the running backs that they have and the tight ends that they have to potentially give him, some more opportunity to not have to be as physical as maybe he did last season, right?
But are you taking something away from his game if you're saying, hey, don't do this?
Well, of course you are, but you're hoping that what you're taking away from his game is added by the other skill players, right? So then when he does break off or want to break off that big run, that it's a little bit less anticipated than last year where, teams were crowding the box and forcing him to throw, deep ball or not the deep ball, the intermediate or, short throw that he struggled with and is still getting better, right? He definitely wasn't perfect. But
you're not going to tell me otherwise.
He was sabotaged.
Yeah, the play calling didn't make sense for his skills.
Dan Mullen wanted to get fired, so he's like, I'm just kidding.
Yes. That's my
me and Dan Mullen were on the same page. We're like, yo, how do I get the best job possible with the highest buyout? And then how do I get to that buyout as quickly as possible? Yeah. Dan Mullen and I, two peas in a pod.
He did it. Nobody called Dan Mullen dumb, right? A couple other players that I think played really well. I don't remember what their stat sheet was. I thought that Gervon Dexter played quite well. I thought that he really, I know he had a sack. I know he had a couple of quick tackles for some either losses or very short gains in the beginning of the game. So I'm excited to continue to see him grow. I thought Lloyd Summerall played well in the couple of plays that he had that impacted the game.
Jim, ain't he?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It looks like a completely different guy. Right? And Nick, this might be some news for you. We have a walk-on making 50-yard kicks at kicker, but position battle to watch.
It's a lot of bang for your
buck. Listen, after Chris Howard missed the first one, I think I tweeted like, Trace Mack, come on down. Job's ready for you. Everyone else is being kicked off campus. You're going to be the only kicker. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, maybe not Trey. Hold on. Might have to earn the job.
Nick's throwing all of his punter and kicker people under the bus.
No, just kickers. Like I said, kickers are weird, punters are people.
Let's see. Any concerns? I know we talked a little bit about backup quarterback. Obviously, Jack Miller, isn't, a world beater. There's still an opportunity to get better. We also got to see Carlos Del Rio and Jalen Kitna.
Yikes.
I think I have concern behind. I think I have concern quarterback depth. Like you're going to get Max Brown in. I don't think Florida will have all four of the quarterbacks that were at the spring game. I don't think all four of them will be on the roster come next season. I think you're going to see somebody transfer.
With that likely happening, Florida, they go in next season with Richardson, Miller, Brown, whatever quarterback didn't transfer. Do they go and try to get another quarterback? What do you think, Nick?
I don't know if you can get another one. It would probably depend on who it is. Like I think Jack Miller and a lot of people weren't on notice about Anthony Richardson because he missed so much time and they saw that Emory Jones started over him. And well, if Emory Jones started over him, I probably can too. I think and maybe it's just we're too close to it. I don't think you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks being like, oh, yeah, I'll transfer to Florida and I'll compete with Anthony Richardson. I don't think you're going to get guys doing that. Like when quarterbacks transfer, they want to go to a spot where they can play right away. And I don't think anyone's playing over Anthony Richardson right now. So I don't know who you would get to come onto your team right now. So I think you're fine. I think you're fine with 4. You probably are hoping and praying Anthony Richardson has I think Silk said it last week, a good enough season that he comes back next year because he would be draft eligible after this season.
But that the opposite is going to happen on the recruiting show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at what Anthony Richardson is. Look who he can be. You also have film of Jack Miller, not throwing the guy under the bus, but now you have film of him saying, hey, we think Anthony Richardson is going to do so well this year that he's going to probably go to the NFL. Now we have an opportunity for you to step in as the starter, be a 2-3 year starter. Maybe the kid is a freshman right now. Maybe they're a redshirt freshman, right? But I think Florida, knowing what I know about quarterback, knowing who I know might transfer, knowing who I know is coming in, Florida has some major issues at quarterback.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think they can always infuse a guy. It's Florida. The logo's big, so you can go find a 5-star on the bench in January or one of these years. If AR is bouncing in January and leaving, go pro, it ain't that hard to ask around for talented backups that's looking for a spot.
Right, and you can't have emotion, right? Like you have to go and you have to build this roster, right? Anthony Richardson is better than I thought he would be after watching the game. I've always thought that Anthony Richardson had incredible talent, but we were missing on some of the finesse. I saw some drastic improvement in finesse this year, but Florida has some major issues, and I think that if you're going to preach recruiting as a coaching staff, you need to go and recruit that next quarterback because I don't think that anybody on Florida's roster outside of Anthony Richardson is Florida's next quarterback.
Yeah, defensive line is desperate needs as well. That was apparent in the game. Of course, the run game looked good, but Gravon, the starters, it's just no depth at all whatsoever. So we had a transfer on campus visiting. But they got to make some moves in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. I wouldn't mind a couple O-line, but 2 or 3 on defense is definitely needed.
I thought Jalen Lee played pretty well, but
I think defensive tackle, outside of Jalen Lee and Gervon Dexter, what do you have? And then what do you have next year as well? So I think that's a question mark for me. And then behind Anthony Richardson, the only thing I would say on the transfer thing at quarterback is, you're going to have 4. If one of the guys transfers out, let's say Kitno or Del Rio transfers out, you're going to have 4 once Max Brown gets in. You're comfortable with 4. So it's not a pressing need. Would you like to get somebody in? Yeah. Would you like to get somebody in to learn the system all fall and be a backup so that if Anthony Richardson goes to the draft after the season, that makes sense. But to me, it's not a pressing need because unless Anthony gets hurt, and then Jack gets hurt, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, but the ability to sell the proposition that we talked about ends
you nailed
before
it's
the
you work
season
in
started,
recruiting
right?
or something.
Yeah. Just an idea. Again, I'm not sure. Florida's going to have a lot of needs. They do need players to transfer where you're going to have net negative, right? You can't have the same number of players leave and recruit the same number of players in because Florida's still 4 or 5 over the roster limit, right? So there's going to be some gaps and it's not going to be perfect. But I do think the way that I look at Florida right now, if they want to be built for sustainable success, has to figure out its quarterback situation. And I think it's trying to go get somebody right now. Yeah. But we did have a transfer announcement as well. Nick, do you want to break that down?
Because there were a couple of transfers for basketball.
Football.
We got a transfer for football?
No. I thought we had somebody announce. No, we had somebody announce that they were leaving, didn't we?
No.
Oh.
No announcements.
Yet. I could have sworn, and I'm trying to look at it right now. I could have sworn somebody did it on Friday.
You got somebody? Do y'all have people on transfer watch?
I put one in. I put one in on the. I put one in in the chat that it could be happening tonight or tomorrow. But that's not.
I didn't catch that. Let me go catch it.
2 transfers for basketball.
Yeah, my apologies. I was trying
That's
to
what I thought
find
you
it.
were talking
I
about.
thought there was an announcement because Goods had already announced, right? We had talked about Lamar Goods putting his name in, correct?
Yeah, we talked to him last week.
Okay, my apologies.
And that was a guy I didn't see much of in the spring. It was kind of like
Right.
sometimes, there's so many players that, even though I'm out at practice, like Lamar Goods announced he was transferring. I was like, oh yeah, he's still on the team.
Yeah.
Like I'm even out at practice and not noticing him. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. See ya.
So the Gators are at what, 90 players? Is that what we're at right now, or 89?
I think I'm at 89 right now.
Okay, so we're at 89.
So you got to lose 4.
Right.
And Billy was talking about awarding 5 walk-on scholarships. So let's say he awards 5. That puts you at 93.
Bro, that's
94.
a lot. Yeah, 94. That's a lot. And I don't think that it's I don't know how he gets to that number. If you're going to,
that might have just been for the soundbite because he was talking about being aggressive in the transfer portal. That might have been, for a soundbite for a quote.
So
let's know a 5 that would get a scholarship.
Let's say you're aggressive in the portal. That means, in my opinion, probably at least 6 guys, right?
I would say 5 to 6 would be a minimum to be aggressive.
To be aggressive, right? So to get there, and if you're going to have 5 walk-ons, you're at, let's just say for math's sake, you're at 10, right? So that puts you at a roster of 99. So that would mean you would need 14 transfers between now and the start of the summer.
Yep. That's aggressive.
That's very aggressive. A lot of new homes. Nick, I do want to ask you if you've heard anything about. I actually heard them talking a little bit about it on the Big 3 roll-up last week. Have you heard anything about the NCAA potentially giving some flexibility on super seniors?
Yeah, we're still in a gray area for that. Those guys were given, so like for the spring sports, it was a blanket. You get a full, because the spring sports, like baseball played 16 games. Track was in the middle of their season. They got a blanket free year of eligibility. For football, it was, okay, you dealt with some hardships. It was a weird year. You can have an extra year, and we'll use that, for the next season. It was it was specifically written for if your senior season was 2020, that sucked. We'll let you come back. So now the NCAA hasn't really given a strict ruling. And I think that's where you look at like Florida's roster, and I'm sure it's a bunch of other rosters, A&M, Georgia. You look at these rosters and you're like, well, how is Ventrell Miller still at Florida? Like he doesn't have any more eligibility yet. So we're looking to see if like a Ventrell Miller will count against Florida's 85 scholarship, or if he will be, a COVID super duper senior.
All right. And maybe there's some more knowledge on from the coaching staff perspective, where being aggressive from our definition and what they may know about where it's going, may certainly dictate some thoughts there. Any parting thoughts on the orange and blue game before we're off for football for the next 4 months?
Man, get your popcorn ready. That RPO is going to be fun to watch. Lingard, Bowman, the young running back, Johnson. It's going to be some fun times. And we'll see what the fireworks look like in this portal, because we need to get busy with some playmakers, man. But if we get the right receivers on the outside, with what we already got touching the ball every play, Nick talking crazy about my Gators, bro.
Did it change your mind at all? Last week I said I could see this team being 60-40 run to pass.
Oh, no.
That's crazy talk.
I still think it's crazy talk.
Okay.
You thought that was a run? You thought it was run happy?
No. I was actually impressed. I was impressed with, and I say this as much as anybody. We see 15 minutes. I might see 20 of Anthony's 80 passes in practice. So I put it with a grain of salt. That's the most accurate he has looked in the short to intermediate passing game that I saw him all spring, was in the spring game. So to me, that's great. But if you're starting to talk about RPO, even in a passing play called, I'm like, hey, Ant, if your first read isn't there, don't even worry about the second. If you see a running lane,
sure. See, I'm not mad. I don't know. I think a lot of those runs. See, that's why I make it a little different. Like play calling, like
it's a caveat because Play calling might be close to 55, 45, 50, 50.
Correct.
But the way the
AR,
play rolls out is
right,
60, 40.
Right.
So I will skew the numbers however I need to make my point correct.
Yeah, I see how you can cater. I can cater towards my shenanigans as well. We both can spin it, but I think Billy calls a fairly even run to pass on the play call, but it is RPO, so we don't know what the audibles and what the look's gonna be and all of that. So we'll be guessing ourselves. Amateur over here.
Yeah, that's us.
Oh man. Let's get into some basketball news. A lot has happened over the past week. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Alumni Hall. Visit them at Alumni Hall. Use promo code SG20 for 20% off of your order through June 15th. We're also doing a giveaway of a $50 Alumni Hall gift card for commenting and subscribing on our YouTube channel. So we will be doing that shortly. Again, alumnihall.com. Use promo code 20SG at checkout, or SG20. I'm sorry, getting confused with Manscaped. SG20 at checkout and get 20% off of your order until the middle of June. Nick, basketball news. Give us the good word, my friend. You're on mute.
Colin Castleton's back. I think we might have talked about that last week. From what Zach Alberverdi and I were told, the Gator Collective had a nice deal for him, which might have persuaded him to come back. Kawasi Reeves. There was a rumor that he was going to go into the transfer portal. It was reported by somebody at 247 that he was in the portal. He never officially entered the portal. I think that was kind of like a, hey, I saw what you did for Colin. What can you do for me kind of thing? And which is, listen, I had no problem with it. Yeah, players can finally get paid. Go get your money. He is not going to leave. He's going to stay at Florida. That's great for Todd Golden and for the Gators. And then I think getting a LSU transfer in Alex Fudge, only a freshman last year, coming to Florida. A guy, he only averaged 3.3 points, 3.2 rebounds as a freshman last year, but he's a 6'8" forward, 7-foot wingspan, was a 4-star on the On3 consensus. And in high school, I mean, he just filled up the stat sheet, almost 18 points a game, 12.2 rebounds, 5 block shots. There's going to be a lot of turnover, and you're already seeing some of the basketball recruiting class fall apart because Mike White left. But you get a recruit or a signee from decommits, from Florida. So there's going to be some transfers, and I think the transfer portal, as we've talked about before, affects basketball even more than football, just given the roster sizes. So Florida will have to be active in the transfer portal, and you're seeing them, early on in the Todd Golden era do that.
Right. So you saw that we talked about the transfer last week. You just mentioned Alex Fudge. The Gators also landed Trey Bonham today from VMI. What?
Oh, no, not Belmont. VMI. Sorry.
Yeah. So from VMI, Trey Bonham, 6 foot, 170 pound sophomore, averaged 13.6 points per game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Really kind of took off, I guess, towards the end of the season. Last 15 games, averaged 18 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. Apparently known for getting to the rim, a great finisher. Apparently a guy that a lot of people that follow basketball and mid-major and minor basketball are very, very high on this kid. So really exciting to see the roster that Todd Golden is going to bring to the University of Florida. Obviously losing Jalen Reed today, although not officially counting out the Gators. That was a guy that Florida needs, kind of a 3-point shooter, 2-point shooter, and a guy that can, score in the paint too. So that's definitely a guy that Florida needs to try to keep in this class by whatever means possible. But it does seem like Todd Golden's been able to go out and grab some big names. beat some other, bigger schools as well for some of these guys. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Florida has to rebuild almost their entire basketball roster this season. So, but again, prospects are looking good for who Todd Golden's been able to get to commit to this class. And now it's a matter of continuing to build and grow on that momentum and, continue to focus on high school recruiting over the next, however long, but definitely here soon. So, obviously exciting news in Gator Nation for men's basketball. Any other thoughts on basketball before we get into some more announcements? And then Corey will take us out with Manscaped Ad Read.
The only thing is I'm getting great feedback from not only recruits, high school coaches, but also from boosters that they love Todd Golden. They liked Mike White too. So that's not going to lead to wins, but Mike was my guy. But they really like Todd Golden. It'll be interesting to see because we've talked to Eric a bunch of times. We've talked to Neil, basketball, so many sports, but basketball is going to such an analytical, numbers driven, leadership role. And that's what Todd Golden does. So it'll be interesting to see, does that play? It's really played at San Francisco. Does it play at Florida? Does it play in the SEC? You're going to have to be able to compete for some of those top guys because you're not going to compete saying, hey, we can get a roster full of 3 stars and analytic our way to an SEC championship. You need some dudes at the end of the day. So you got to try and mix them both. But early returns on Todd Golden have all been very, very positive.
Yeah, was one of the folks that was recognized with Kelly Ray Finley. What was their responsibility at the Orange and Blue game?
They were honorary celebrity captains.
Celebrity captains. Okay, so we'll see, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we've got a lot of good, positive, news for Todd Golden and the Florida Gators basketball roster. I do want to congratulate the women's gymnastics team that was able to advance to the finals of the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, came just a hair short of winning a national championship. Oklahoma took home the crown, but congratulations to Trinity Thomas, who just showed out in Fort Worth during the national championship, took home the all-around prize, took home a couple of other awards as well. But just a fantastic performance from Trinity Thomas, from Megan Skaggs and the rest of the Gators gymnastics program that just did incredible in the national championship. So it was a fun thing to watch on Saturday.
And will be interesting. Going back to the COVID year and kind of what we were talking about for football, Trinity can come back next year. As a true senior, she can come back next year. Like Skaggs cannot. This was her COVID year to come back.
Right.
And several of the other graduate seniors, but I don't know what else Trinity has to prove other than trying to lead, Jenny Rowland and the Gators to another national championship. But it's a possibility for her to come back.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about it with Jenny Rowland in the past, right? I mean, for a lot of them, this is kind of the apex and also the end of a lot of their gymnastics careers.
Right.
Now, surely Trinity Thomas might have an opportunity to make an Olympic roster, but the Olympic rosters usually skew quite young, right? So a lot of Olympic athletes go to college after already having been in the Olympics as kind of their final swan song. So whatever Trinity Thomas does do, is going to go around as one of the best gymnasts, not only at the University of Florida, but one of the best NCAA gymnasts of all time. So congratulations to her. In other news, Gators men's tennis goes undefeated in SEC play, beating Texas A&M. They won 15 consecutive matches to go undefeated at home during the regular season. Perfect SEC record as well. Men's tennis is on track at 20-2 right now, but on track to likely repeat as national champions. In other news, men's and women's outdoor track and field rankings have come out. And they are both ranked number 2 in the country. And I do want to congratulate the men's 4x100 relay team that set an NCAA record.
4x4.
Or was it the 4x4? My apologies. 4x4. Ended up setting an NCAA record, fastest time ever for a college program in the history, but first time ever under 3 minutes and 54 seconds, 2 minutes and 54 seconds, 2 minutes and 53 seconds, 53.8 seconds. So congratulations to them. Women's tennis had a number of awards to end their season. McCartney Kessler won her first SEC Player of the Week award, and Alicia Dubney won an award as well. And I'm not seeing which award. So anyway, congratulations to them. My apologies for that. But outside of that, Silk, Nick, any other final thoughts?
Nah, no final thoughts, man. That's just it, man.
Baseball
RPO.
hosts RPO. Baseball
Yeah.
hosts number 1 Tennessee this weekend.
Without a coach for at least the first 2 games.
Without the first 2 games. That was wild. Tony Vitello just with a head of steam chest bumped an umpire. Tennessee is kind of taking on like a pirate mentality. They're the bad boys. They play how they want to. They throw fur coats and hats that say daddy on guys after they hit home run. Full pause. And they'll be in Gainesville this weekend. Number 1 team in the country. I think they're 31-3 after losing a series to Alabama. Number 1 team in the country, though. And it was a series last year in Knoxville that got very heated. No love lost between these 2 teams. Tennessee's 33-3, lost to Alabama last weekend. But if you look at Florida and where they are right now, it's a series that at home you have to win. And I don't care if it's the number 1 team in the country. If it's a AAA baseball team, you have to go 3-1 this week with at least a 2-1 at home versus Tennessee.
Nick, I do want to ask, Gators bullpen kind of falls apart again against Arkansas or against Vanderbilt, to lose 2 of those games. Is it getting any better?
No, it's certainly not getting better because Hunter Barco leaves the game on Friday night, and as he leaves after the second inning, after just 50 pitches, is looking down at his elbow. Kevin O'Sullivan protecting his guys in the media when interviewed during the game says he had strep throat or he was sick, and he was a little fatigued. He had strep throat 2 weeks ago. That was an excuse 2 weeks ago for an outing that ended up premature. Sunday, the TV broadcast says it's an injury. It's something that I'll talk to Kevin O'Sullivan on Tuesday about at the game and have an update about. But if Hunter Barco is shut down at all, you can shut down the Florida season. They need Hunter Barco to pitch on Fridays. They need Brandon Sproat to look like he has the last 2 weekends, and they need some other guys not named Blake Purnell and Tyler Nesbitt to step up in the bullpen. Typically, you wouldn't be asking these kinds of questions this late in the season, but I will work on getting Kevin O'Sullivan after the year, and maybe we can do an autopsy about what happened this year and what went wrong, because I had a lot of high hopes for this team, and they are not
2 years in a row.
Not performing the way. I kept my lies minimal this year. Last year, I was talking big. I was talking crazy.
Yeah. At some point, Silk Nick's going to have to atone for all the lying he's done on this show.
No, just lie about my. He put my Gators at. Yeah. Brandon on here talking about 6 wins.
I said
Crazy.
7. I think 7's realistic.
No, 7 can happen. Like I'm not crazy. 6 can happen.
6 was wild.
I just don't foresee that, man. I've seen some. I expected 7 wins, 8 wins. Dan Mullen's first year, and then got cracking. We'll see what's up.
Maybe I'm a homer. I just don't see it. I think that
neither.
Florida's got some talent. I think that in areas that you need talent to win games, Florida has plentiful talent right now. If Anthony Richardson gets hurt, obviously things, can change, but Florida has their best offensive line that they've had in a very long time, right? In my opinion, they've probably got just as good at running back, if not better than they've had in any recent memory, right? the style of offense that they're going to run is going to be predicated on decent tight end work that are going to do a lot of blocking. I think that you might see that, and with injuries coming, and you might get a transfer in there as well, with players coming back from injury, pardon me. I see some improvement there. I do think that Florida is going to be able to score some points this year, and I don't think that their defense is that bad. I think that they're going to go and they're going to probably go grab a transfer or two at defensive tackle. But outside of that, I mean, I think that they've got pretty good edge rushing. I don't think their linebackers are that bad. I think you have some great battles at cornerback that are going to make their players better. And I don't think your safeties are that bad. So I don't want to accept in April that Florida is a 7-win team, because I don't think a lot of the other teams that they're going to be playing are all that great either. I don't think LSU's all that good. I don't think South Carolina's all that good. I don't think Missouri's any good. I don't think Kentucky's going to be great this year, right? I think the Florida State's bad. I think Tennessee's bad. Or not Tennessee, Vanderbilt's bad.
I got to see more.
I think Eastern Washington's not very good. So I
sure.
can easily see this team winning 8, if not 9, maybe 10, but I'll stick at 9.
Okay.
It's all on AR health for me, baby.
Yep.
I gotta see what I got. But if AR is healthy, I just think that's him.
Yeah.
That's him. So
we'll
I think him could get us 8 off of him. he got us 8, and then we'll, the stadium, the swamp will give us another one. So I'm gonna go at a modest 8-9. Anything more than 8 is a blessing.
I have seen crazier things happen. Nick sitting back in his chair.
Won't be crazy, man.
7 wins in April prediction. Yep. Silk, let's get a Manscaped ad read, then I'll take us out for Song of the Week.
Shout out to the great folks at manscaped.com. We got the tools for your parts. If you trim them pubes, you don't got to get the lube. Not just playing. Be sure to use coupon code 20SG at checkout, or SG20 at checkout. That'll get you 20% off and free shipping. Lawnmower 4.0 is the perfect package for your package. Cordless, glows in the dark, or it got a light. Now, it doesn't actually glow in the dark. Yeah, but that would be nice if it glowed in the dark, right? Sure. Doesn't electrocute you or anything crazy like that. Shock proof, snag proof, no cuts. No injuries in this grooming experience with manscaped.com. Coupon code 20SG at checkout. I think Manscaped need a back shaver. That's what I need in my life.
I just got the Weed Whacker for the first time. The package came today. Gave it
Changed your life, didn't it?
Breathing clean and free right now.
You thought you had sinus issues and it was just the nostrils hairs, bro.
Yeah.
Cleared it right on
up.
No,
I still got, it's pollen season, so I still got allergies, but the mucus is flowing better now without all the hair. Thank you, Manscaped. Hashtag thank you, Manscaped.
It's coming the grossest ad read ever, man.
So I do want to announce a few other things from Manscaped that are be coming out here soon. They are going to be having an ultra smooth package, which is going to be their crop exfoliator, crop gel, and the crop shaver coming out.
Exfoliate your crouch area?
You can exfoliate your crouch area.
Is that what it's for? No, I want to just use it. I want to use it for what it's for. It's for, like, what is it for?
It's your crop exfoliator.
See?
It might be something that you rub on after you clean. I'll have to do some more research. Just looking at the email that they sent. It looks like hey,
we do a lot of shout outs on this show. Shout out to the fans.
We do. And then Boxers 2.0. Nick, I know you have some. Silk, I know you have some of the Boxers. Now we're into Boxers 2.0. So that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. Father's Day is also coming. Might sound like an awkward gift to get for your father, but maybe your friends are fathers. Maybe you yourself are a father and you want to treat yourself.
Well, ladies, if you're listening, support the balls in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. Less enthusiastic. Yeah. I didn't know what I was signing up for there. Just trying to be enthusiastic for your ad read.
Hey, shout out to my man Bob too. Bob joined the Roll Up Network. He's gonna be doing Gators and More quick updates, 30-minute, pop-ups, Monday, Wednesday, Friday deals.
Hollywood Bob.
Life's coming full circle, Silk. Nick and I went to a Hollywood Bob speaking event right after we met. I think we grabbed lunch together, and that night we went and saw Hollywood Bob speak in Orlando. So life does come full circle about 10 years later.
Bro, I used to read Bob shit, man. when I was in these recruiting streets and trying to figure out what's going on in Gainesville. A lot of this stuff just be like, Bob is not like a superstar, but if you're a Gator fan, he's been around a long time, man. So I'm excited to be working with Bob. Bob hit me up wanting to do some podcasting. And I was like, bro, I'm pretty sure we could find a lane. I want to do some more Gator updates and keep, staying in people's ear from our platform as much as we can. And Bob's a different dynamic, different vibe than Stadium Miguel. So that's just like a little baby off of Stadium Miguel, some more Gator vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Billy Napier will be speaking in Tampa.
Who's going to be there, Dan?
I will be there. But before you spoil the surprise, Nick, if you are in Tampa, Billy Napier will be at Armature Works at around 6:30 or so on Tuesday. So hopefully see you all there. I will be there representing the media and the Stadium and Gale podcast. Shout out to our boy Rick. So I will be there on behalf of us. So looking forward to you being out there. If you will, come up, say hello. Would love to meet as many of you as possible. But again, Billy Napier, Armature Works.
Thanks for the unblock, bro.
You got it, brother.
That's a story that we need to have on the blog. If Billy remembers why he blocked Silk and why he unblocked.
I know why he blocked me, but it wasn't even that. It wasn't even that slanderous. I think at the time we were looking for an offensive coordinator, and somebody said Billy Napier. I said every time we're looking for a recruiter or offensive coordinator, Billy Napier's name keeps coming up. And that's a big no for me. And then one day I just looked up and I was blocked. I was like, yo, what's it?
That seems like a quick block.
It wasn't anything slanderous. I didn't say anything too crazy.
I've seen some of the stuff you say, and that would seem the least block-worthy thing.
Yeah, somebody told me, somebody that I know that has a relationship with Billy said that it wasn't him that blocked me for sure. He don't even give a shit about Twitter and retweets. And I believe that person that told me that just by checking Billy out a little
Billy
bit.
just doesn't seem like the kind of guy to just scroll Twitter all day.
Right.
You know?
I'm gonna block this guy, Silk.
Well, he follows like 6,000 people, so just the fact that he would even see that and then block you.
This was a wide receiver coach at Bama.
Yeah, this was in like 2015.
That's a long time ago.
And then there was a nice groundswell of support, nice little guerrilla warfare on Silk's behalf to get him unblocked. So
yeah.
Happened very early on into Billy Napier's career at Florida too.
His first 24 hours on the job, bro. Yeah. I got it unblocked, bro.
I remember because I'm sitting here and we're trying to like do coaching search stuff, and I'm like, listen, dog, it's Billy unless he says no. It's Billy. So I think Silk's groundswell, his campaign to get unblocked started early.
Yeah. I started hitting the right back channels. Like, hey, bro, we gotta make something happen. I can't have the head man got me blocked. I know I made some terrible transgressions, but this wasn't even the crazy one.
How am I supposed to get these lies off if the head coach blocks me? I can't even follow his tweet.
I'm excited about the future though, man. We got some everybody just relax with the recruiting. We got some big recruiting decisions coming up. And we're going to see what's what. Should be a fun summer. And then we'll see what we can get in the portal and let these guys do what they do. Shout out to Todd Golden. He's recruiting his ass off right now, man.
Let's do it. All right, gentlemen. Same corner, same time next week.
Know the vibes.
Same corner, same time.
All right, take us out song of the week. We're going to go into the EDM world. This guy just announced that he's going to be in Tampa Memorial Day weekend, so I'm going to go check him out. It's a guy by the name of Nightmare. If you look him up and you type out Nightmare, you'll have to skip all of the vowels except for the final E to get to this artist. So NGHTMRE. Sorry to spell that out of my head real quick. He has a song called Feeling Good. Now, if you type in good the normal way, you'll be wrong. It's G-U-D. But this is a fantastic song.
This guy doesn't have a GED because he can't spell anything. How much
spell check, does not have a GED, does not have anything. But what he does have is some fantastic music, including this song called Feeling Good, which is how I'm feeling about the Florida Gators after the orange and blue debut. With that, boys, see you next week.
Got a name Nightmare about to tell me how to feel good.